Olivia Culbreth slammed head-on into another car on the 60 freeway in Diamond Bar.
Driving is a significant task, but a lot of people don't take it very seriously. Some people do it while using their phones. Others do it while chatting with other passengers and drinking coffee. But the most dangerous and reckless are those who drive drunk. We've all seen in courtroom videos how several of the DUI defendants appear to be fighting back tears, apologizing for hurting others and promising to never make the same mistake again.
I was wrong. That was so wrong.
Unfortunately, the damage is permanent. Drunk driving impacts thousands of individuals each year, inflicting injury and lasting harm to families and communities. Despite the acknowledged dangers, people continue to drive under the influence. However, they also have to deal with incredibly harsh punishment for that. Here are the top 10 drunk drivers reacting to life sentences. Number 1. Amber Pereira. In 2017, Amber Pereira of Tampa Bay was engaged in a fiery collision on the Selman Expressway. Pereira, according to investigators, was intoxicated when she sparked a chain reaction that took the life of 3 members of the Felipak family. Pereira was traveling along the Selman motorway when she collided with Luis Felipak, his wife Rita, and their 8-year-old daughter, Georgia. Pereira lost control of her vehicle, collided with Felipak's vehicle, and sent it into the westbound lanes, where it was hit by 2 other vehicles and caught fire. According to police, Pereira continued driving and was detained later when her car couldn't drive any farther due to the damage. She pled guilty to driving under the influence following the horrific wrong-way incident. Pereira claimed that she had a seizure at first, but was subsequently charged with DUI manslaughter, DUI with serious bodily damage, fleeing the scene of a fatal collision, and evidence destruction. According to investigators, she had been drinking and driving at rates of more than 100 miles per hour before the incident. According to evidence, additional testing found Pereira had 3 cannabis-related chemicals in her system, 2 of which were in amounts of high enough to affect Pereira's brain. As soon as the judge announced her 50-year life sentence, she could not stop crying. Pereira wiped away tears moments before Circuit Judge Christopher Sabrella sentenced her to 5 decades in prison for triggering a catastrophic collision. The judge made a brief reference to a prison conversation captured after Pereira's arrest and aired it in court by prosecutors, in which Pereira told a family member, "My life is wrecked." "Your life is wrecked, ma'am," Sabella said, "but you also ruined a lot of other lives and ended 3 lives." The judge went on to say, "Miss Pereira, you tried to run until your automobile wouldn't let you, and to the degree that that seizure had been attempted to explain, you proceeded to evade any responsibility for this crime at the hospital when you tried to conceal the tubes of blood that had been seized from you." Her attorney started to talk about sentencing guidelines for at least 35 years in prison as she was crying. He asked the court to disregard the recommendations and sentence his client to 20 years in prison instead. He stated that her criminal history was modest and that she had no intention of causing anyone harm. However, she was still sentenced to 50 years in prison. Number 2. Grace Coleman. Grace Elizabeth Coleman, a 23-year-old California woman, was sentenced to at least 21 years in jail for a drunken hit-and-run incident that took the life of a young couple and their 3 young girls as they were gazing at Christmas lights. She was driving while drunk, which led to the accident in Newport Beach. Ms. Coleman publicly acknowledged responsibility for this full catastrophe before the judge. Coleman pleaded guilty to taking the life of Henry Eduardo Selena Mejia, 27, and his wife Gabriela Andande, 28. The couple's daughters were also taken to the hospital following the incident. According to Santa Ana police, the collision fractured all of their legs, and one suffered 2 broken arms. Coleman's blood alcohol level was 0.22%. Was nearly 3 times the legal limit when she hit the family's Nissan Versa at the junction of Newport Coast Drive and Pelican Hills Road South, according to officials. Coleman maybe ran a red light as the family approached Pelican Hills, according to Newport police. A judge sentenced Grace Elizabeth Coleman, 2 of the orphaned daughters, read letters they written to their parents in what the family's lawyer described as perhaps the most emotional thing I have ever witnessed. Coleman had to wear a mask during the hearing, which obscured most of her expression, but an attorney stated that he did retain her concentration on all the speakers, which I felt was acceptable. How this is simply another example of a drunk driver damaging several lives, including her own and then the people around her, he added. Even though she was wearing a mask, it was very evident that she was crying and could not stop thinking about what she had done. She was so shocked that she didn't even say anything during the hearing, but but she did speak privately with the family of Henry and his wife Gabriella in the rare meeting arranged in a courthouse. This meeting was very private and was not attended by defense lawyers, prosecutions, or even a judge, an attorney explained. They felt she was truly sorry. They felt she had made a terrible decision. They're not angry, an attorney remarked. However, the victim's attorney filed a negligence lawsuit against Coleman and her parents, James and Kelly Coleman of Newport Beach. He blames her parents for enabling her to keep driving the 2010 Land Rover they had given her despite 2 drunken driving incidences. Number 3. Olivia Carolee. Olivia Carolee Cuthbert had consumed alcohol in the early hours of February 9, 2014. She had just become a mother. Colberth was 21 years old and had just given birth 11 days before. And still, she drove at speeds of up to 100 miles per hour against oncoming traffic on the 57th and 60th highways. This 26-year-old Fontana woman was sentenced to 30 years to life in prison for a wrong-way accident on the 60th freeway that took the life of 6 people. Colberth's automobile collided with a Ford Explorer on the westbound road, first taking the lives of 4 individuals in that SUV, including 3 generations of the same family. The 3-vehicle pileup also took the life of Colberth's sister and closest friend, who were passengers in her Camaro. According to several California Highway Patrol officers, it was one of the worst wrecks they had ever witnessed. Prosecutors stated that her blood alcohol concentration was 0.15% 3 hours after the collision. Colberth had been arrested for a DUI before, which resulted in a collision, according to evidence given at a preliminary hearing. The court warned her about the hazards of driving under the influence in alcohol and warned her that such future behavior might result in serious offenses. Olivia had a prior DUI conviction and numerous traffic offenses on her record, as well as license limitations. When asked if she was furious with Colberth, one family member of the victim's family said, "I don't feel angry. I feel bad for her, you know? I don't know how you're going to survive the rest of your life, knowing about how many people you took the life of, including your own sister." However, Olivia was so shocked that she made some very emotional statements. Olivia sobbed as she was sentenced to between 30 years and life in jail for taking the lives of 6 people in the wrong-way accident. "I pray to God every day to console people who have been harmed by this," Olivia said. She further went on to say that she wanted everyone to know that. "I would die 1,000,000 times over for any one of them." She wiped her tears and then she went on to say, "I was completely incorrect and I accept full responsibility." Number 4. Charlessia Pelt. 28-year-old Charlessia Pelt from Detroit was driving while drunk. She was not alone in the car. According to authorities, Michael Jones, her son, was not securely strapped in his child's car seat in the back of that minivan that ran a red light and collided with another vehicle. The impact sent the youngster flying into the roadway, where the minivan rolled over him again. He was declared deceased at a hospital. In court, the woman from Detroit apologized to her family and begged forgiveness. However, her family was not happy as she lost 3-year-old son. Fortunately for 2 other youngsters in the vehicle escaped serious harm. Charlessia Pelt was facing up to 15 years in jail for the collision that took the life of her own son. "I come to the hospital and find my baby lying down with tire tracks on his arms and face," child's father, Michael Jones, said. She was very emotional in court. She kept on begging for forgiveness. "I'm very sorry. It hurts so much." She apologized again and again during the trial. She also said, "I understand how this father feels. It bothers me so much when people act as if they don't love my child. He was everything to me." Pelt begged the court for her sentence on Tuesday. "I did everything in the world to be with my babies, to do everything correctly," she explained. "I'm getting the impression that I didn't. I realize it was the worst thing a parent could have done. I want to apologize to my family. I'm very terribly sorry," Pelt said. According to family members, the mother was getting treated for depression and was on her way to drop the kids off at her sister's house so she could have a night out. However, her apology was not enough. Charlessia Pelt was found guilty of endangerment and taking the life of a child while being drunk. She was charged with 3 counts of second-degree charges and 3 counts of operating while drunk. During the sentencing, she kept her head down and sobbed. She was sentenced to 15 years in jail as she pleaded guilty to all charges. Number 5. Michelle Lake. It is said that some people never learn from their mistakes, and the case of Michelle Lake is a perfect example. Michelle had previously completed a jail sentence for drunk driving incident that took the life of a man, was sentenced to 10 years in prison for causing another crash while being intoxicated. At 9:32 a.m. on December 6, 2018, Michelle was driving north on LaFuel Avenue in Westwood when she veered left of center and collided with an oncoming car, gravely injuring the driver and front seat passenger. Authorities found several illegal substances in her system, and her driver's license had been revoked following a drunk driving collision in 2006 that took the life of a passenger in her car. Michelle Lake begged for forgiveness. While the judge expressed sympathy for Lake, he also referred to her as a ticking time bomb. "You're a walking time bomb," the judge said. "You are not frightened to drive, even if you are not permitted to do so. You're addicted to heroin and haven't done anything to treat yourself throughout the years. Then you get this result." After hearing this, she could not even stand properly. She started to cry. "I'm really sorry for what occurred," Lake stated after the sentence was announced. "I wish I could send back time and relive that day." Nevertheless, the 35-year-old mother of three can't undo the 2018 tragedy that left 2 people critically injured. Lake was driving over a center line when she collided with Jody Cox's automobile. Cox stated that her 2-year-old son was also in the back seat but was unharmed due to his car seat. "My entire family has been affected," she explained. "This has been a significant financial, mental, and emotional burden. This has been a significant influence on my life and the lives of my family." Prosecutors requested the 10-year term, nothing Lake's previous record and raging substance addiction difficulties. Lake's blood alcohol content was 0.242, which was 3 times the legal limit. The judge followed the prosecutor's suggestion and sentenced Lake to 8 years in prison for aggravated vehicular assault and 2 years for vehicular assault, to be served consecutively. Lake will also be on probation for 3 years following her release, and her driver's license will be suspended for life. Number 6. Jorge Solis. Jorge Solis from Georgia was sentenced to 50 years in jail for taking the life of 3 people and critically wounding 2 more while driving the wrong way on I-75 while intoxicated. Jorge Solis, 20, of Ellenwood, was already on probation for a prior DUI conviction when he drove his Ford F-350 north in the southbound lanes of I-75, colliding head-on with a vehicle traveling from Illinois to Florida. The accident happened on Father's Day. Solis took the lives of 2 children and their father while critically paralyzing another child. Solis was unharmed despite having a blood alcohol level of 0.125. In a statement, Atlanta Fulton County District Attorney Paul L. Howard explained the scenario of the accident, saying that Solis was so drunk that when the officers arrived, he was passed out in the motorway median. According to Howard, witnesses stated that they could smell alcohol on Solis and that he was quite inebriated. They also claimed to have seen him move across the seat and exit using the passenger side door, claiming he wasn't driving. Solis pleaded guilty to 6 counts of first degree, driving under the influence of alcohol while under the age of 21, possession of alcohol by a minor, possession of an open alcohol container, driving on the wrong side of the road, and driving while his license was suspended or revoked. Fulton County judge condemned Solis to 50 years in prison as part of a 75-year sentence. As he heard the sentence, he could not believe what had happened. He was not crying because he was trying to find ways to evade the sentence. He tried to convince the judge of his innocence, but it was of no use. The judge understood and felt the pain he inflicted on the victims' families. The victim's family shared a photo on Facebook of an IV linked to the arm of a tiny kid named Clayton. Clayton had gone through surgery, and as a part of his intestines was removed. In another post, he was on life support. However, Solis did not care about what he had done. His only focus was to somehow get the judge to lower his sentence. His attorney kept on convincing the judge about how Solis was innocent. However, it was of no use. Number 7. Javier Cortez. In Santa Barbara County Superior Court, a Santa Maria man pled guilty to a pair of counts stemming from a double fatal collision in North Santa Maria. After leaving a house party earlier in the evening, Javier Cortez, 28, was suspected of smashing his black Chrysler sedan into a white Jeep Cherokee, carrying 4 passengers on March 16th, taking the life of a resident, Madison Coleman, who was 17, and Monica Gonzalez, who was 20. Cortez was then charged when he was found to have a blood alcohol concentration of more than 0.8%. The charges contained 3 enhancements: serious bodily harm, excessive speeding on a motorway, and having a blood alcohol percentage of more than 0.15%. Many local police officers testified about the incident at a preliminary hearing before the judge. According to Sophia Marquez, traffic control officer with the SMPD, Cortez was at a house party in the 2300 block of Juliston Drive before the incident, where he was reportedly ingesting 3 to 4 bottles of beer and tequila Jello shot before departing at 2 a.m. According to the police officer David Brewer, the force of the hit caused a short flash of light and ejected Gonzalez. She was wearing a seatbelt, however, she did not survive the ordeal. Another passenger in the Jeep sustained pelvic damage, a fractured arm, and other injuries, and was airlifted to Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital for surgery. According to California Highway Patrol officers, information collected from Chrysler's event data recorder revealed Cortez was going 104 miles per hour westbound on Donovan Road 5 seconds before the crash. Cortez's speed was registered at 93 miles per hour by the data recorder in the split seconds before the collision, he added. During the hearing, he continued to say it was an accident. However, for some people, the accident took everything and left them with a lifelong of grief. As Cortez was on the stand, an emotional Julia Coleman addressed the court, claiming her daughter was a decent kid, had a good job, a boyfriend, and a 14-year-old sibling, and was about to start college. "We'll never see our child again," she murmured, staring at Cortez, who didn't seem to mind. He pleaded guilty to homicide and drunk driving and now faces a sentence of 21 years to life in jail. Number 8. Ashley Freeman. In a terrible 2018 collision, a Santee woman took the life of a man while driving intoxicated and on the wrong side of the road. She was sentenced to almost 12 years in prison. On February 26, 2018, Freeman was traveling alongside Interstate 8 at the interchange with Interstate 5. According to a plea deal, she was driving on the wrong side and had a blood alcohol content of 0.28. At the time of the accident, Freeman was 22 years old. Freeman and another lady were inside a blue Toyota Camry when it crashed with a Volkswagen Jetta shortly before 2 a.m. Justin Callahan, 35, was inside the Jetta. Officers with the California Highway Patrol revealed Justin Callahan passed away due to his injuries hours after the collision. According to police, Freeman and her passenger suffered severe injuries. Months later, Freeman confessed she was to blame for the accident. She said, "My lapse of judgment has taken Justin, the guy you all adore, and I will never be able to apologize for my actions that night." Freeman said in court on Friday, "I wish I could do everything to reclaim it. I apologize, and I apologize to everyone." The parents of Justin Callahan were present for Freeman's sentencing. "I don't have much serenity, pleasure, or laughing, and when I do laugh, I feel bad because I shouldn't. He's not here." American Callahan, Justin Callahan's mother, told the court. America Callahan stated that while she forgives Freeman, the final judge is God. Hearing this, Freeman's face turned red and she started crying without an end. She tried to be audible with the crying and said, "I hope you will forgive me one day and know how truly and deeply sorry I am." Freeman pled guilty to many crimes. She was initially charged with murder, but that allegation was dismissed as a part of a plea bargain. Freeman received an 11-year, 8-month jail term. She already served 379 days of her sentence before she was sentenced. Freeman agreed to serve 11 years and 8 months in jail as a part of her plea bargain. "I'm not pleased with the plea deal. I believe she should have a longer time in prison since she killed someone," Justin Callahan's father, Lowell Callahan, said. Freeman's father also stepped out on Friday, saying Ashley is a good person who made a bad mistake. Number 9. Tanner Dashner. Tanner Dashner drove drunk in 2018 and caused a catastrophic disaster that took the life of 5 people. Tanner was sentenced to more than 70 years in prison. Dashner, then 21, was traveling at an estimated 97 miles per hour in a 30-mile-per-hour zone on South 25th Street on November 23, 2018, when his SUV collided with the rear of a Dodge Dakota at Midway Row. The Dodge, driven by Cadan Tillett, 27, of Fort Pierce, and the BMW in front of it had stopped at the Midway Road red light. Dashner didn't slow down when the Dodge and BMW started to speed after the red light turned green. Dashner's GMC collided with the Dodge, which then collided with the BMW. The GMC collided with the Dodge a second time. The Dodge's petrol tank was comprised and erupted into a fire, according to reports. Senior Circuit Judge said he doesn't usually explain sentences, but this was an extraordinary situation. This case is about the judgment of choices made that night and the repercussions of those decisions. The judge explained, one of the outcomes was a loss of 5 lives, and suddenly one person's life was transformed forever. According to the Florida Highway Patrol investigators, Dashner, now 24, had a blood alcohol concentration of 0.274%, which is more than triple the legal limit of 0.08%. Dashner was sentenced to 14.5 years in prison for each of the 5 offenses. The periods will be consecutive for a total of 72.5 years. Dashner was sentenced to time served on 2 minor offenses. Dashner apologized to the families of the 5 victims in court. Addressing the court, he said, "I never wanted to hurt anyone in my life. I regret the stupid judgments I made and apologize to all the families I've damaged as a result of this tragic disaster." Dashner was left shocked at the sentence. However, that didn't stop him from apologizing. Dashner begged forgiveness and expressed remorse for causing emotional and bodily suffering. He said, "I'm sad you'll never be able to tell your son I love you." And to hear him respond, "I'm sad you won't be able to embrace him again," Dashner said. I hope you can recover from this and have a happy and prosperous life." Dashner looked disappointed in himself as the victims' families started to cry. Number 10. Eileen Alderette. A Las Vegas woman was sentenced to 26 years in jail for a high-speed DUI collision that took the life of an 8-year-old kid and critically wounded his parents. The intoxicated driver, Alderette, was traveling at 103 kilometers per hour when she collided with the family's vehicle. According to officials, toxicology testing revealed that Alderette was under the influence of narcotics. According to the police report, Alderette showed slow reactions by only slowing down to 81 miles per hour for a red light that had been red for roughly 3 seconds. Throughout the hearing, Alderette cried loudly, at times shouting over the boy's relatives to say, "I'm very sorry." She apologized to the boy's family. "I'll always wish my life had been taken out on that fateful day," she said. Levi's family sobbed and supported each other throughout the hour-long sentencing session, wearing t-shirts that said "For the love of Levi." At the same time, Alderette also started to cry. It seemed as if she was thinking about her life, which would be destroyed by the judge's sentence. The family urged the judge to make an example of the community in order to save other people's lives. They said, "You should forgive and forget. We made the decision not to forgive her. We choose to forget about her," Levi's grandma explained. Alderette will be 51 years old when she'll be eligible for parole. However, experts say that she could face up to 65 years in prison altogether. At her 90-minute sentence hearing, Alderette wept the entire time. "I'm really sorry for hurting the family," Alderette said. Apologies, according to prosecutors, were too late now. "We're done trying to teach you the wrong of your ways, and now you're going to be punished," said Eric Bauman, Chief Deputy District Attorney for Clark County. Joey, the victim's 12-year-old brother, told the district judge, "The nicest birthday gift my brother could get is this maximum punishment for Alderette." Alderette was sentenced to 26 years to life in prison without the possibility of release for second degree and 2 charges of DUI causing serious bodily damage. Levi's mother stated that after the hearing that she was relieved that the judicial procedure was over. "We can put this aspect of it behind us and work on emotional healing as a family, knowing we received justice for Levi," she added. "We have it."